Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for The Wheel of Time Season 3, Episode 1, To Race the Shadow. This is just so Prime dropped 3 episodes, but we're only going to be talking about the first one in this video. I have separate videos for episode 2 and 3 as soon as I can get those watched. I'm watching these in order and then shooting the videos in between as to not like kind of spoil myself as to what's going to happen and maybe bring up things in each video that haven't really happened for those that are watching, that are taking their time enjoying this. Very excited to watch season 3. I will tell you this up front. This first episode has just a fantastic opening. Just one of the most intense sequences I've seen probably in all 3 seasons. So the show keeps ramping up, and I'm very excited to get into it. So we're gonna talk about everything that happened. I'll tell you some of the things that I liked. I don't think I have any big any big like gripes with the first episode. I think overall to me this seemed very enjoyable. Um, and I don't know where we're gonna go from here. I'm pretty excited because one thing this show continues to do is like we're gonna get all our people together, and then they're gonna have to separate and go on another journey. But that's kind of how fantasy stories work, right? So let's start getting into it because this first opening sequence, everything that happened before the logo shows up, which was almost 20 minutes of the episode, was fantastic. This was also a pretty long episode. So we begin with the Amlin confronting Leandrin, who had been accused. Like we know as the audience that she's a dark friend, um, and Nynaeve shows up as the surprise witness, right? Uh, at this time, Leandrin knows that the time for this facade is over, and she has to kind of go all out if she's gonna want to get out alive of this. This triggers one of the biggest fights I've seen in this show. Like as far as just magic powers being used, of course there's a big fight in the finale. Every season, but this just felt to me like the most down to the ground people on the ground doing stuff, especially because you have all these Aes Sedais fighting each other because there's so many infiltrators. It is a slaughter. So many dark friends. So many people that have been in the tower working for the Dark One. It was just like a big reveal that I don't think it came out of nowhere. I think it's something that they've been kind of building to, but just to see everyone kind of be activated at once was crazy. We get to see the stuff that's in their 13 repository, and then boom, another betrayal. Like this was all. I don't know if this was all part of their plan, but they definitely felt like it's either now or never. So yeah, as they try to escape, and like I said, there's a big fight sequence, like powers everywhere, really cool visuals of the magic, people getting betrayed. I do love that they do have healing magic, so like just because somebody's getting taken out doesn't mean that they're down for the count. We also see Moraine just in time as they are escaping to save the Amelin. Like, although she's doing all this kind of covertly because I think she's not supposed to be there, right? Or at least she's not supposed to be in touch with all the other people, the Aes Sedais and everything, everyone in the White Tower, right? She's been banished. I forgot also how deep the feel is when somebody that they're connected to like dies, like how hard the characters take it, and we do see that happen here. And all this, like I mentioned, happened before the logo even showed up. So yeah, really just going all out, bonkers, big fights, a lot of betrayals, and then this isn't even with our main cast. This was just all happening really in the White Tower, as the things are really crumbling there. We get to see the five meet together about their plans. Although, I guess the five chosen plus all the people that are hanging out with them, which is a lot of people. So, one thing I noticed, and I don't know if this is an update, I could not get the X-ray to. Normally, when a scene starts or when there's a lot of people going on, I'll throw on the X-ray on Prime so that it'll show me like who is all in the scene. It really helps when taking notes for this. But I did not see that. So let me know if that's something you've been experiencing. Maybe I need to do an update to my app. Of course, as this is the last night that they're going to stay in the city, the boys go out for a good time. We do see that Lanfear shows up in the city and she talks to Moraine. Um, I will say I do like Rand and Lanfear like hanging out together. I think that was some of my favorite stuff from the previous season. Uh, we also see that the Amlin comes to talk to Egwene and Nynaeve about getting them back into the tower so that they can continue their training. Now, Egwene never got her ring, so she can't really leave, right? But Nynaeve is kind of free to do whatever. Like she's not bound to anything. She's got a ring. She can control her power. She's got other problems. Her problem is that she can't really fully utilize her power whenever she wants to. But Egwene decides that she'll go back to the tower if she can go through the arches, and we get to see a new trial, uh, but not truly. We get to see that she's there, and Egwene's there in her trial, and she is now the Amlin, the mother. We have Nynaeve with her, and I forget the name of the other person that she's been traveling with, but they're all there, and they confront Rand, and we cut out of her trial to see her come back all bloody. So the implication to me is that maybe in the future she is the one that will have to, will have to take care of Rand, whatever that ends up meaning. But she gets a ring, and then this was all she needed from them. So like she's now also ready to go. Like the only reason that she went to do the trials was so that she could get a ring, and she can also leave. Um, we have an attack on the five, which is crazy. Like Matt's having visions. There's multiple Rands coming out of the mirrors. Egwene's attacked. They need stabbed multiple times. Um, Perrin, like his axe comes to life and starts trying to kill everyone around it. It was another really cool, bonkers, chaotic sequence. And we keep cutting in and out to Moraine and Lan just kind of being there, listening to everything that's going on. And so to me, I was like, wait, is this a test from them or is this something else? They come to the conclusion that the Forsaken found them, and that's partially true, but it looks like it was Lanfear that set up most of it, except for one thing, the gray man that was stabbing Nynaeve. So it looks like their plan was to maybe Moraine probably had Lanfear do this so that they would be scared into following Moraine's advice, really. But now they've realized that they're not the only ones that know where they are. So the group does end up having to split into three different groups. Rand and Egwene and Moraine will go one place. A few people will stay in the city in the White Tower, including Nynaeve and Matt. And then Perrin has to go back to his home. And so he takes, and there's, like I said, there's bigger groups, but those are kind of the main people that have to go. Uh, Rand heads up to Aiel of the Waste to get his army that he has kind of foreseen in the book. And then for the last scene, we get to see one of the people that were revealed at the end of last season, the Mogadine, I believe that's how you say that, who is creating another Gray Man. So we know that the Mogadine was also involved now in that attack. So that's kind of what that tells me. Um, yeah, a lot happened in this one right from the get go. Like it was all gas, no brakes, and I'm very excited to see where we go from here. I don't like that the group is split up again. I really love when they hang out together. Like, that's kind of how we met the group, and every time they get together, I feel like they're safer, but maybe not. Maybe that's not the case. I don't know. But this was really fun, really enjoyable. I'm glad that Wheel of Time is back on my TV, and I can't wait to go watch the other two episodes that dropped, because they dropped 3 episodes for the premiere, and then the rest of the season will probably be weekly, as most of the Prime shows are. So stay tuned in the channel. We'll have reviews for the rest of the other episodes that are out, and then on a weekly basis, we'll continue to talk about the show. Hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we're going to be doing a review for The Wheel of Time, Season 3, Episode 2, A Question of Crimson. Crimson, of course, referring to the colors of House Drakkard. We'll get into all those details So going into this episode, because I had done a review for the first episode. I was looking for some pictures, and I ran into some stuff since all three episodes dropped at once. So I was very interested to see those visuals in context, and a lot of them came up in this episode. Um, so we're gonna get into it, but once again, another good episode. I feel like the first one was so good, just with that really strong opening. But this one opens pretty strong too. It's just a way smaller part of that. This episode also serves as a bit of a transition for some of our travelers, but the main story, the story about the queen that comes to visit in the tower, I think it's very interesting. Queen Morghese of House Ricard. So before we get into the review, there's one thing that I feel like we need to talk about. Uh, what is happening with Moraine's hat as she travels, and really her whole outfit? Moraine is dressed while the rest of the party is dressed to like go on an adventure and a trek. Moraine is dressed like she's about to go have like bottomless mimosas at brunch, and I just thought that was really funny. Like she's got this big old hat, of course, a long flowing dress, and this like pink top, and I was like, this feels like a very interesting choice in wardrobe. So either way, I just thought that was funny. I wanted to bring it up before we got into the actual nitty gritty of the episode. So in this episode, we begin with a flashback 20 years prior to Carmlin, where we see a lot of the houses in the kingdom swearing fealty to Queen Morghese, who has ascended after the war. But of course, after all the houses pledge their loyalty, she still kills the heirs of the houses. So I wonder how that's been, how that the effects of that 20 years later. Like, are some of these houses maybe trying to rise to power in Endor? Are they trying to overtake the throne, or do they have machinations? Is that why the queen is a little bit feels like a little bit paranoid about some of the things about how the rule will pass down to her heirs? Interesting stuff. Maybe one of the reasons that Elaine had to go become an Aes Sedai and master that craft is so that her ascendancy to the throne would be like very much undisputed, because she's not only the rightful heir according to bloodlines, but also she's an Aes Sedai, so like that makes her even more of a good candidate, I guess I would think. Somebody that the people may rely on. So either way, I'm not sure. I'm sure maybe that's explored in the books. This is uh this normally feels very heavy into the fantasy, but I feel like a story like this really kind of pulled back, and it brought it more into like the type of medieval stuff that I'm kind of used to seeing. Like, I know Game of Thrones came after this book, but like in Game of Thrones, it was all about the lineage, right? And I feel like bringing this story back. So maybe it was something like this that could have inspired some stuff like that. But yeah, I really liked it. I like the visuals. We flash back to the present where the queen comes to Tarvalon, to the tower, and House Drakkar is dressed to the nines. They are very extra in their presentation, and of course, it makes sense because it's royalty. So I thought that was really cool. Like, we get to meet the princes, we get to meet the prince consort, and of course, we see the queen with like this really cool, wonderful thing, like just kind of sprawls out like a neck thing around her. I'm not very good with fashion, so I don't know what to call it, but it's just if you see it, you know that that's royalty. There's a little bit of a power struggle between the Amlin, Mother Amlin, and the Queen, because uh, who is in charge? Like, while they are in the tower, like who has the power, right? Uh, so the Queen, she came to check on Elaine after everything that happened. Like, she just wanted to make sure that she was okay. They obviously heard everything that happened in the last season, but I'm glad to see that Elaine's character has grown so much from the young girl we met, that probably was very sheltered, and now she's kind of got thrown into the deep end. So really fun stuff. Matt is getting a treatment from some of the ice that they're trying to explore what's going on in his mind after blowing the horn. We also see that Min is back. She's the seer that we met earlier in the show. She's back to warn of an upcoming battle where she can see that Aes Sedai will die, but of course we don't have any context as to how that may happen or even when that may happen. Right? Her visions, although we know as an audience that they are mostly accurate, they also don't. They come at unexpected times. Let's see. We also see the Andoran princess put on a bit of a show as they spar. This is kind of like their move to let people know, like, here we are, and we're good looking and we're hot, and you know, come get it, I guess. We also follow Perrin as the group arrives back at the Two Rivers, but we see some white cloaks there, and we try to spend a little bit of time trying to figure out why they're there. Obviously, the most likely answer, and the answer that we're given, is that they are hunting for Perrin after what happened. So how that is gonna affect Perrin's journey and the group that he's with, because he also runs into some other people that are also kind of being persecuted by the White Cloaks. And also, will that little town, will they be able to do anything? Right, it's a small village of farmers and sheep herders. Uh, and rising up against the White Cloaks is just not something that seems feasible. So we see that Rand and Lanfear finally meet back up in a dream, but at the same time, we are flashing back to Egwene having nightmares. So this led me to believe that it. I mean, I think the show's pretty clear that Lanfear is the one making her have these nightmares, right? We know that the dream realm is something that she's very powerful with, but as Egwene, before she wakes up, she sees one of the ale women that she meets later on, that she meets later on. So, like, is she also having visions of the future throughout all this, or is this something that Lanfear wanted her to see? I don't know how that play, or is that something that's just out of her control? I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know. I don't really know what that all means. To kind of close out the episode, Elaine stands up to her mother and she tells her that she will stay in the tower. She's committed to what she's doing, and it is her duty. She feels like it is her duty to the kingdom to complete this training and become somebody that can actually help later on. And then, of course, the last part, Rand's group gets to the Aiel Waste that they were going for, but they are received by a group that includes the woman from Egwene's dream. So very interesting stuff. There's a lot of going on in Rand's mind right now. One thing I didn't, I think I skipped. Uh, there's a really funny scene where Matt meets the elder mother, and she explains to him about the lore of, like, the horn, and how if somebody, like, the horn doesn't have any power until somebody blows it, then that becomes his. So it is Matt's at the moment. But also, if somebody kills Matt and then takes the horn and blows it, then the power is transferred to them. So really funny that obviously Matt didn't know all this, so he's been kind of bragging about being the horn blower and getting his portrait painted and all that with the horn. And I just thought there's a little bit of levity, and it all comes with Matt, even though his story's probably one of the grimmest. So that's a really fun balance that the show's doing. But yeah, a lot of interesting things happening. I gotta watch episode 3. That's also out as of recording of this video. But I've been waiting in between review videos and the next episode, so that I go in pretty fresh and don't commingle anything that happened in separate episodes. Either way, let me know what you thought of this second episode, a Question of Crimson. I think this conflict with the Queen will probably come back in the future as well. But it's very interesting stuff. Um, the main story was pretty entertaining for me. I was really invested. The other two really felt like we're gonna set something up for the next few episodes and then leave you there. So hopefully with Perrin and his group, and then Rand and his group, we'll get a little bit more into the nitty gritty in the upcoming episodes. So, hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for The Wheel of Time, Season 3, Episode 3, Seeds of Shadow. So this is the last of the premiere episodes for the show. Finally got around to watching it after the first two. Let me tell you, I really like what we're doing for the beginning of the season. Obviously, we had to split up the group so we could really tell their stories and see them evolve in their own ways. But what I really am enjoying is that everything is a lot more gray now. Like I don't know if Moraine's intentions are strictly pure. All the Aes Sedai, like they're planning to capture the dragon and everything that they have to do. Like it doesn't feel like, oh, they are clearly the good guys. Then you have like the white cloaks who are supposed to be defenders of the people, doing all kinds of bad shit in season one. And yeah, it just really really like it's working for me. And then you have all the dark friends and all these like Lanfear, and there's reveals in this episode which we'll talk about in a second. Like Lanfear is the character that I know the least about, like their full like their allegiances, where they lie, right? uh, but it's really interesting. I do love Lanfear and Land, like well, and Rand when they like get together and talk, because I never know what the heck is going on. Like as far as like, are they trying to work together? Or are they trying to take each other down? What is this? What really is going on? So very interesting. Really, really fun series of events in this episode as well. So let's get talking about them. We begin with a big reveal that the prince consort Gabriel is Raven, who is also working for the Dark One. Um, I wasn't sure because they changed. They really funny. They changed the hairstyle of the of Gabriel to show, I guess, that he's evil. Like it's all evil. The evil characters slick back their hair, but he ends up meeting with Lanfear and Samael, who are kind of consorting against Moghedien. But it is revealed that Moghedien is also eavesdropping on them, and maybe they're working with Raven. I don't know. There's a lot of, even within the bad guys, even within the people that are supposed to be working for the Dark One, like there's a lot of back and forth and allegiances and betrayals. So I feel like after the fall of Ishmael, like everything really got very convoluted. Everybody's trying to grab their power. We also see Elaine and Nynaeve, who have been kind of put in charge of figuring out who the Black Aja are. Like sorting them out from the tower. We also see that Elena has to get some politicking going on with the Reds to see if she can kind of get back in the fold of things. She stayed behind after the Queen left, but it's been so long since she's been in the tower that the Reds don't really. They've been through a lot, obviously, with Landrin kind of betraying everyone, and they are being kind of a little bit ousted from power and everything. So even within the tower, there's so much conflict going on. We go back to the desert as well, as the group that we're following with Ran runs into a death camp. So like somebody came in, just killed all these people. So obviously now they have to be on guard. We also see that the white cloaks take a family in order to try to get to Perrin. So throughout this whole thing, Perrin's been like, I'll just turn myself in. But the town folk realize that if the white cloaks leave, then who's going to help them fight the Trollocs? And I think what Perrin is trying to do is unite the people of the Two Rivers to maybe defend themselves against the Trollocs, so they don't have to depend on the white cloaks. But even then, like how would they get rid of the white cloak? So that's a whole. I really hate the white cloak. There's one of the characters, I forget his name, but he's got the half white, half black hair. We've seen him since season one. He is such just love to hate that character. He's written so well, easily made to hate as a watcher. So uh, as Elaine and Nynaeve investigate, they are attacked by another gray man, and we already know where those come from. Then we see that Leandrin and her group go back to her hometown, and that's kind of what Nynaeve and Elaine figure out that they also have to do. So that'll come into play later on. But it is. I really like how now that they are revealed as bad guys and they don't have to follow the ways of the Aes Sedai anymore. Like everybody gets like a new look. That's really funny. I love when shows do that because it's like they're clearly telling you like it's a really fun visual language of like this is now a bad guy, right? They got the slick hair back, they got the cool gear. They're a lot more confident now, you know, like all that stuff. If you're familiar with Bleach, is like when Aizen takes off his glasses and slicks back his hair. But we also realize, or I guess we find out, or is confirmed that Yuane is a dream walker, and that's the reason that not only she's been having all these nightmares that Lanfear's kind of been behind, you know, but she also meets the women from the tribe that they run into in the desert in her dreams, and like she went into her dream, and maybe not consciously, and that's why she told her like you don't belong here. That's because that was her own dream. Somebody from a land's past runs back into him at the scene at the bathhouse. I didn't remember if there was a lot of nudity in the show, but we do see some in this scene, which was not something I was expecting. Like I said, I don't remember. Like I don't follow. Like I don't see this show as like, oh, this is the one where you know there's nudity. This isn't like Game of Thrones or something where like, oh, it's on HBO. I expect to see it. So um, Perrin, like I said, wants to turn himself in. The town won't let him. Most of them, there's still a few people that um, maybe are like, yeah, you should turn yourself in and leave us alone, right? But I don't think that's gonna play right. Uh, Matt confronts the princes that stayed behind as well to do some of the war training, and he takes them out with just his bow staff. I didn't realize Matt had that fight in him. So good for him. And then to close out the episode, Matt, Elaine, and Nynaeve, they're heading to Tanchico to find Leandrin, but they're being followed by Min. So we'll see how this plays out for the group. Um, I think the story that I'm most interested right now is Elaine, Nynaeve, and Matt. I think they have the most going on for them. And then it's a bit split between parents stuff just because the white cloaks they really bring a lot of tension into the show, um and then the group with Rand, which I feel like that's gonna ramp up very quickly once they finally get to where they need to test Rand to see if he's the I forget Kalandon. I forget the title. There's a lot of names for the Dragon Reborn, or I guess in a lot of different places here. So yeah, and of course, just all the infighting that's going on between all the allies of the Dark One. Like I'm rooting for Lanfear just because I don't know. I like her a lot more than the other ones, but who knows? I feel like she's gonna end up it's not going to end well for her. So we'll see how that plays out. Anyways, if hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for The Wheel of Time, Season 3, Episode 4, The Road to the Spear. I think this might be the best episode I've seen in the series. I don't know. It's tough to tell. Some of the finales were pretty good, but man, oh man, if you were looking for answers, if you were looking for lore, if you were looking for world building, if you were looking to tie out some of the relationships specifically between Rand, Moraine, Lanfear, how all those pieces kind of fit together, this was the episode for you. It is fantastic. There's some really, really cool stuff. I think Josha Stradowski does such a good job. We'll go into specifically why, and then some of the visuals. Just like visually, this episode was fantastic. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is just a visual feast when it comes to some of the things they do with camera, with makeup, with the storytelling, and also just the way that they explore this world that's created in this series. It was a really good time. I was glued to the TV. It was hard to take notes because I just want to, especially because we had a few scenes that they were doing the old tongue. So, like, I had to pay attention and read the subtitles. Man, oh man, this was a good one. This was a good one. So if you missed it, we're gonna talk about it. So if you haven't seen it, make sure to go check it out before you get fully spoiled. All right. So we begin with this is a it's a full episode about Rand and Moraine. Rand continues his training with Lan, just with the sword, and I think the Aiel have been very adamant about not wanting swords in the campground, and we learn answers to all the reasons why they have all these uh, rituals and customs and like the things that the Aiel are doing. Um, Lan spars with Avinda, who is meant to be one of the wise ones, so she has to go to the Iridian and do her own trial. But she doesn't want to, right? She likes being somebody who defends her people, somebody who's actively in battle. But ultimately, she understands from the other wise ones that she has to step up and she has to accept her responsibility, which very big theme in this book, right? Your destiny versus your responsibility versus, I guess, what you want, like your individual freedom. Rand also does not want to wait to enter the Meridian. He's going to do it on the next day. So he goes as they go in. It's a whole production to get there because there's somebody else. There's some other people there already. Uh, they don't like outsiders, as they call them, wetlanders. They don't like Rand. They don't like the idea of Rand, even though he is a blood descendant. They don't like the idea of him going into the Iridian because that should be reserved for only their people. But Moraine also asks to enter, and she's granted access. So both of them go into it. Uh, we get to see a really cool visual of the city in the clouds. As they enter the city, you see all these like this fog, very very cool visually, very ethereal fog that surrounds this city. Also, as they get there, they have to leave all the weapons behind, and I'm trying to remember if this is before. Yeah. So this is before the title even hit. So we were like 20 minutes into the episode already. They have to leave all the weapons behind, and something that seemed a little bit out of left field was how many weapons Moraine has on her. Like she just kept pulling out little knives and stuff. It was actually a little comedic. Just how many weapons she had hidden on her person at all times. Because you have to leave those behind, and there is a very interesting idea that there's so many spears and weapons still left around this city because there's so many people that haven't come back from their reading. They never made it back, which is to be expected. I love the idea of these like the trials and tribulations that you have to go through. Not just the Aes Sedai have to go through their portals, and now Rand and Moraine are going to go through this. They each are going to experience their own thing, right? Which we'll talk about in a second. As we get in there, like I said, we hit the title sequence. They see a tree of life, which is something that goes back deep into the history. This place looks very ethereal. A lot of lights, a lot of the fog itself, the way that it's shot. There's some shots that are really low to the ground, just to kind of give you this idea of like this mythological place. But Rand is sent back through time to different people in his bloodline, and we start with the beginning where we saw the battle where we find his mom later on dead, right? So we see that first, that jump. He meets I guess his own dad. He inhabits the body of his own dad. That's what I gather from it, or at least definitely his mom's partner. So and he finds the mom's body. Obviously, by then Rand had already been taken by the person who raised him, and Rand just continues to learn all about his history. We flash back even further. We learn why they don't use swords. We learn about the Way of the Leaf. We learn why they are called oath breakers. Like all these origins, all these answers just kind of come flooding in as Rand keeps stepping forward. There was another person already that had gone in there as well, but he's not doing good. He's definitely not doing very well, trying to get out of the routine. We also see Moraine. There was a little rock, and I wrote down the name of it. It's called the Sakaran. We don't learn that till way later. It's a little white orb that was hidden in the tree. Moraine takes that, and then she finds Avinda in the rings herself. There are these three rings that Once you enter, you kind of float in there. So women and men have different parts of the ritual. Uh, but yeah, we see her floating there. We know that women will go back. We'll go into the future and see possible futures because that's kind of what the wise ones do. And then that's the same thing that Lorraine's gonna see, and Moraine's gonna see a lot of her like different futures, right? Um, we're gonna talk about that. All A lot of the futures that we see the first time around, they involve Rand. Whether it's bending the knee to Rand and accepting him, killing him, capturing him, like Moraine is definitely very, very intertwined in that relationship. They are connected. They even mentioned that they are connected from way before because it was Moraine's uncle who started the war that led his people to go after him, and that's why his mom and his dad were in the place that they were at, which led to Rand being taken. It's a whole thing. They are so tied together, like just from their origin. It is pretty cool. We also see that um, the origin of the Sakarna and the little orb. We get some hints at the origin of Lanfear in one of the flashbacks. Uh, it is like we get a history of, well, not a history, but we get the reason why they wear the masks, or why they put on their masks. Um, and like I said, we explore about Rand's people at some point, the way of the leaf. Uh, I love that the further we step into the past, probably before a lot of the events that, when the world was broken or whatever, the big war, a lot of things look very much like a lot more futuristic, especially once we take one further leap backwards, where Rand's ancestor, wearing a little, almost a little Padawan braid, he's just a farmer. He's serving an Aes Sedai who is Lanfear, and they are like in this like almost Dead Star looking thing floating above. Uh, Lanfear mentions that they have found a way to open up the world, and we see this gigantic explosion. The fortress falls down to the ground. It is. I hope that we touch a little bit more on that because I was very confused. But I do love the idea that even that Lanfear is also so well, like her her past is so much woven into Rand's because of of his bloodline, and she's kind of been there from the beginning. So maybe that's the reason that she's all like they have such a connection in the present time. Um, we see that Rand gets his marks, the double dragon. In his arms. Moraine, then we see that she has multiple visions of Lanfear killing her, like in the future, and she was told that she would see 1,000 spins of the wheel with some possible futures. Some things may come true to pass, some things may not. But I can't imagine spending. They spent about 7 days. Ewain and Lan mentioned that it's been 7 days since they left, and I can't imagine spending all that time just seeing yourself die or kill somebody that you really care about, like Rand. Yeah, it reminds me, if you're a fan of Naruto, when the Infinite Tsukuyomi, right? Or it maybe that's not it. Whenever Itachi traps you in the Genjutsu that makes you relive a really traumatic event, or just anyways, this is a Naruto video. But yeah, it was great. It was just a fantastic episode. This is the first time that there was an after the show that I saw. Maybe they're out there and I just haven't seen them. But I did see it. We get Josha Stradowski and Rosamund Pike talking to the showrunner, whose name I forgot to write down. Uh, they also wrote this specific episode, and they just kind of talked about all the things and how this episode came together, how this story between Rand and Moraine is so important that they were devoted to giving them a full episode. Right, we only get 8 episodes per season, so we are getting a full episode of this. So it must have been really important, and I think they nailed it when it comes to the performances, the visuals, some of the makeup, because Joshua Stradowski did all the characters in his own bloodline. Some of the makeup looked a little silly and goofy, and the wigs, like it all looks weird because we know what he normally looks like with his look as Rand, and it is pretty obvious that he's behind all the makeup, right? Whether he's portraying an ancestor who's older or more worn torn, like it's a lot of different things. But either way, I think it was a great job. Rosamund Pike also just an amazing job doing this, like floating ethereal dancing in the rings, and then just all those. They do this literally. They turn the camera where it's like starts kind of going upside down, and you see all these possible futures. That must have been really intense to shoot because we see so many different iterations of so many possible futures. Very, very cool. Anyways, this was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time, but I have a lot of questions. But this was also very satisfying to get a lot of answers. But where do we go from here? Like, Elaine looks like he's gonna get some training as a dreamwalker, but also that is Lanfear's domain, so like that seems dangerous. Also, now that Rand has the dragons and I believe he's called the Karakhan. Like, what does that mean for the Aiel? Like, because he's supposed to lead them, and also supposed to destroy them and then save them. What does that all mean in the prophecy of things? I don't know. There's so much going on, but man, oh man, what a great episode of Wheel of Time. So if you watch this episode of the Wheel of Time, let me know what you thought about it. Let me know your favorite sequences. Let me know just like how you experienced this. Let me know how this compares to reading this in the book if you have read the books up to this point. No spoilers going forward, but just like how does this compare? How does this adaptation of these events that feel very important compare to the events on the book? I don't even know if they went through this. I don't know if maybe this was a story. This feels like it could have been a whole book or a whole few chapters like condensed into one thing, because so much happened, so much we learned, or like this could have happened through I don't know, like pacing in a book is very, it can be very weird at some points where you may be revisiting this event multiple times. Anyways, hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for The Wheel of Time, Season 3, Episode 5, Teleron Riod. We'll get into what that means. If you read the books, you already know kind of where this episode is probably going. Before I get into what actually happened in this episode, let's talk a little bit about the overall, how I enjoy this one. Now, I will say, Season the 3, Episode 4 remains like just my favorite of the whole, probably the whole series. It was so good, but this one does a really good job following on those threads, and then also expanding the story back out, right? Because after episode 3 we were really focused on just Rand and Moraine as they go into their quest. So now it's time to bring us back out of that, and I think this does it uses a very intriguing method, which has a lot to do with the dreams and Egwene. I love that Ewane's kind of put at the forefront of this episode. There's we follow up on all the other, the rest of the group, but also like Ewane being at the forefront. Like I really like her character. I really like the relationship that she has with Rand, but she's definitely going through a lot of hardships, and this episode definitely is also part of that. So let's get into the details of this one. We begin with Moraine practicing or using the orb that she got in the last episode, but she can feel how difficult it is to control. There's a lot of power there. I don't know exactly how this affects her channeling or how the orb itself, what it's really for, but just based on the location where it was and the fact that it's such an old item, as we found out last episode, it must be really powerful. So we do see Lan shows up to help her. They have this really, I really love their rapport. Like just they have such great rapport, especially trying to understand this new thing that they've kind of, they're now a part of. So now we see them arrive in this kind of like city, still with the Aiel. They're gonna wait for the chiefs to gather, to see if they will accept Brand as the current car. Uh, they're still very worried and very interested in following the customs of these people. So that's very cool. Like I mentioned in this episode, Ewan kind of becomes the forefront. She joins the dream walkers, the wise ones, she joins them dream walking and learning how to control and harness that ability. So we'll definitely get more into that in a minute. Elida in the meanwhile at the tower meets with Emerlyn to let her know that she's gonna call a vote. She wants to make sure that the tower calls that the tower goes after Ren. That's really her main objective. Now we still don't know exactly if Elida's working with the Black Aja or like what her deal really is, or at least it hasn't been fully confirmed. But they do find the people in the tower realize there is one more Black Aja left, just based on the way that they were grouped and these hearts. Um, and that they set up a trap for Elida because they believe she either knows or who it is, or she's definitely a suspect, very suspicious that after all the events that happened, she would want to stay in the tower, right? After Leandrin and the group of others left and caused all that damage. In the meanwhile, we still go back to the Two Rivers, where parents still trying to save the Coffins family. Um, which, man, that storyline really devolves. It's really sad. And parents just continue to try to do the right thing, but now they're trying to save them. So the wise ones in Ywain begin their dream training, and as they go into this dream, Ywain kind of she wanders off, if you will, in the dream world, and of course, Lanfear shows up again, confronts her, almost kills her. So now at least the wise ones understand and know a little bit more as to, like, there's somebody, the one of these dark forces is after Ewain in the dreams. So the trap is sprung. Elida kind of follows that, and the fallout from that I think remains to fully be seen. But I like that the tower really has. They're not just hanging out. They're moving. They want to make sure that they can eliminate any threat internally before setting things off. We also check in with Elaine, Nynaeve, and Matt, who are on that ship. Nynaeve is seasick, which is pretty funny. Um, Also, Min is there, which we know that she kind of snuck into the boat with everyone. Nothing much happens here other than just we're following the. I think their episode is gonna come next week, because they are the ones that are following Leandrin and all the ones that left the tower, so they want to hunt them down. Um, we see that Valda, that white cloak, will finally begin questioning the coffins. I guess the mom, because somebody channeled in the tent. Now, obviously, the white cloaks. What they do is they anything that's magic, they destroy it. Um, Alana and Muskim will have a little argument of how to help parent the best. Alana's being very reckless because she's trying to unite the people of the Two Rivers. She's trying to kind of recruit them into this army for the last battle. So we do see that Muslim doesn't agree that they've had a big loss. This is the Aes Sedai that had two warders, and they were all kind of connected together, but we know one of them perished. In the meanwhile, Moraine catches up Lan about her visions in the Rerun, I think it's called, about either she dies or Rand dies, or like nothing gets done really. That's pretty tough because like Lan is there always to support Moraine, so I'm glad that she has that stability, somebody to rely on. I really enjoyed their relationship since the beginning of the show, all through their ups and downs. Um, we also see there's a big battle with the White Cloaks. That that never goes well, but there's a few surprises there, and then we see that Rand and Lanfear meet in the in Rand's dream. In the meanwhile, Moraine asks Egwene to help her deliver a message to Swain, the Emerlin, because obviously she can't travel. I really like this idea of using dreams to deliver messages and visit and kind of check in on your people, which is exactly what Egwene does. She's kind of peeking at everyone's dreams, and you see kind of their fantasies, like what they hope, their dreams and aspirations. And your dreams usually, for the most part, unless you're having a nightmare, is pretty pleasant. So it's really nice because I feel like Ewan is the most empathetic of all of them, and she feels great that her friends are in a good place. Now, unfortunately, the last one she visits is Rand, and they go back to that hilltop where Rand, profess his feelings for Egwene, but she sees that Lanfear is there with him, and she recognizes that it is the person that's been trying to kill her. So, what does that mean? How is that going to play out? Will she confront Rand in the next episode? Yeah, very exciting stuff. Make sure to stay tuned after the show. They do the little inside. I don't know if they started from the beginning or they just started doing more recent episodes, but they do these inside the episodes with the showrunner and some of the characters that are. I mean, some of the actors that are in big part of the episode. So those are very very cool. So hello everyone, Dane here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for The Wheel of Time, Season 3, Episode 6, The Shadow in the Night. This should have been called The Hills of Tanchico. But I think this episode tonally was all over the place, which I both enjoyed and I also got a little stressed and a little frustrated about. But overall, another great episode. This does definitely feel like a little bit of a transition episode where like this is gonna catapult um, our characters into their big finale. Looks like the next episode is gonna be a big battle episode, and then of course we're gonna have to wrap things up with episode 8. We're almost done with the Wheel of Time. I can't believe how quickly the season always just kind of slips through my fingers. I wish I could channel really hard and bring it back, but then I might get the madness. So, all right, we're gonna get into spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode, make sure to go check it out. Come back. We're gonna talk about the highlights here. We begin with Tenchiko. 95 years ago, we see a young Leandrin and her son, who we met, and amongst this whole chaos, she manages to escape her captors. She channels. She kills some people, and then as she's looking for help, of course she doesn't find any. But she does eventually meet Ishmael, which is really fun to see again. Obviously, that character is dead in present day, but I think we'll be able to kind of revisit the character in flashback. So that'll be really fun. Back in present day, the Black Kaja are planning to collar the dragon. That's we know that's been their mission. That's why they're trying to get the bracelets and the collar, and trying to bring Rand under their control. But there's more to this. There's some machinations behind Leandrin's plan. We also catch up with Nynaeve and Elaine, who are in Tenchiko, um, who are trying to look for the Black Aja as well. They kind of are undercover right now, right? Which is really fun to see. This episode for this part of the cast felt it gave them some moments of levity and fun to really contrast one really messed up scene that we'll talk about in a minute. We also see that Lanfear visits Moraine in her dreams. They talk a little bit about the plans. I feel like Lanfear and Moraine have been kind of on the same page, but as things escalate and as they discover more things, especially after everything that Moraine saw in the rings, of obviously she's a lot more wary of Lanfear. We catch up with Perrin, who was hurt after the battle in the last episode. Also, Alana's hurt, so there's no one who can heal Perrin and no one who can heal Alana. Aes Sedai can't heal themselves, but don't worry, anybody who can channel can probably lend a hand. So that's what we're gonna get into later on. Matt also runs into Thom Marilyn, who's the bard. I I don't remember if we met this character last season or a couple of seasons ago, but either way, yeah, Matt runs into him. Tom doesn't want to get involved anymore in anything because last time he barely made it out with his life. But Matt just buys him a drink. They get to chatting. We also see that Mogideon is the weirdest character. She's undercover in Leandrin's group, kind of pretending to be the help. But man, she's like spitting in their food and like touching everything. It's disgusting. Like, really, really great job by this character because Mogideon is a 100% weirdo. Then we see Lanfear and Egwene. She finally faces her inner dreams. Lanfear casts out the wise ones that were helping Egwene, trying to like train and practice. And they finally have a face to face as well. Um, you know, Egwene's it's able to get away because she's got the she's had a little bit of training. She also has that backup of the like the pin that falls that she can hear, so she can wake up. It reminds me a lot of the kickback on Inception. If you ever seen that, that's kind of how they wake up themselves there. Moraine and Rand also talk, and I feel like Rand is kind of losing it. Like he's been losing it this whole time. And this episode is gonna be something that leads to maybe a big change in Rand's personality. Um, Anytime that Rand starts to like picture this power, he almost shakes the world, which is like it just looks really cool on the screen. Um, Elaine has to sing her way out of trouble, as some people discover that she might have been the heir. Obviously, she is undercover, so she kind of Tom Merlin helps with a song, the Hills of Tanchico, which is a very catchy tune. You'll hear it again at the end of the credits, not the video, but like at the end of the credits in the actual episode. And in the inside of the episode, you get to kind of hear how they kind of came up with this concept, and they realized that Elaine could sing, like all the actress who portrays Elaine could sing, and they wanted her to have a singing episode, and this is kind of what came out of that. So that's really fun. Um, Alana, as she's trying to recover, she's very hurt. She's way more hurt than Perrin. Perrin was able to treat his wounds with like herbs, and I feel like also being a wolf brother maybe gives him a little bit of like a healing ability. I'm not sure. I could just be making that up, but I feel like his constitution's a little bit stronger. But the twins that were rescued earlier, they we knew that one of them and discovered that both of them can actually channel. So Alana helps the twins channel so that they can help her heal. So she's back up on her feet. Then Mogideon ambushes Elaine and Nynaeve after they've had a great night of fun. They found one of the bracelets that they were looking for, which the search for these items feels a little bit too convenient, but I'm gonna give this a pass because they did have to travel far. But yeah, they just kind of happened upon the bracelet thanks to Matt and some of his throwing money around. But yeah, they this is probably the most eerie scene of them all because Mogideon does like a spell uh, to their heads to kind of control them, make them very like just respond to her in a very candid way, which is obviously like this offsets the tone of the scene because we know that they are in trouble, but they're laughing and giggling and complying with everything. Nynaeve does fight a little bit, but ultimately Mogideon ends up taking the bracelet and kind of erasing this confrontation from their mind, so they don't even remember what's happened to them. But Nynaeve does she does have a scar in her cheek to remember the confrontation by. Egwene finally confronts Rand about Lanfear and her dreams and everything. I think she feels betrayed. This truly feels like they were kind of breaking up, and they even talk about that in the inside of the episode. But it feels like this is as far as their relationship's gonna go for now, at least. Um, but the main thing that Egwene wants to know is did Rand know that Lanfear was the one giving her those nightmares? Like how much did he really know about what she was doing? Um, and last but not least, after that conference, after Egwene and Rand are talking, they're ambushed by some Forsaken. I forget the name of this Forsaken. It's not Raven. It's the other one that we saw in that meeting the other day. But after some fighting, Rand is able to channel and handles him very easily. But Alcera, the little girl that Rand had been friends with, is collateral damage. The building falls and she was inside. Rand tries his best to bring her back. Um, I was wondering, like, is he gonna be able to bring her back? Like, with he is the Dragon Reborn. Like, does he have enough juice to make that happen? And if he does bring her back, would she come back as the normal, like a normal Sarah? Would she come back as something else? Ultimately, he's unable to bring her back from the dead. So I guess we know that there are limits to the power of the Dragon Reborn. Um, Lastly, we know that the White Cloaks have been regrouping, and war is coming to the Two Rivers. And I think next week we're gonna get a big battle episode, like the big budget episode of the season. So I'm looking very much forward to that. So, like I mentioned, as I talked about it, I kind of got a little bit more into the episode. So I'm glad I do this type of stuff to kind of rethread and go over some of the major highlights. But yeah, Rand, that scene was very powerful. Both the confrontation with Ewain and Rand, it was very powerful. And then also Rand experiencing that loss. Like they talked about there's a few events in the books and in the series that will shape Rand's character, and this was probably one of them. I don't think this is something he'll forget soon. So hello, everyone. Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for The Wheel of Time, Season 3, Episode 7, Golden Eyes. We are only one episode away from the finale of the season. And I knew this was going to be a big one. I knew this was going to be a good one, just based on the preview, based on what was happening. This is another one of those episodes where we really just spend time with one of our main characters. This is it. Perrin of the Two Rivers. Yeah, this is the one. If you're a fan of Perrin, this is the episode for you, because a lot of incredible stuff happens. Some sad stuff, but I think overall, Perrin and his overwhelming fighting spirit is what really puts this one over the edge. Great performances by a lot of these characters. So we're gonna get into spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode, make sure to go back and check it out before you watch the rest of the video. So we begin with a lot of the folk of the Two Rivers preparing for battle with the Trollocs, and this is done in a very interesting way, right? There's a lot of people in the Two Rivers. There's a lot of named characters in the Two Rivers, and we're kind of following along with them as they kind of prepare. Obviously, all of this centers around Perrin leading the cause against this upcoming army of Trollocs. We do see that the Tuathan arrive into town. This is the traveling group that Perrin had previously met, which we now also know has a correct connection to the Aiel and to Rand. That's something I really hadn't put together until I saw this episode. That these are the same people, right? The way of the leaf, the very pacifist way, non-violence way. Fael and Perrin meet with Lord Luke, one of the White Cloaks, about fighting the Trollocs. But of course, the White Cloaks don't want anything to have. They don't want anything to do with the Two Rivers, other than to get Perrin. And then, of course, we have the other. I forget the name of the guy with the white hair or half white hair. He's just after the Aes Sedai and anybody that can channel, as he calls them, the witches or whatever. So, a lot of little character moments, as I mentioned. Everyone really building to the fight. We see the little girls preparing and training with Alana. We see Mascom training some of the people of the Two Rivers, and them showing their spirit and how they can fight better with bows and arrows, rather than with these poison spears. Matt's sisters get one nice little moment before the alarm goes off. Perrin shows them the little drawing of Matt blowing the horn. So that was really fun. And then, of course, the builder and the IL go off to close the gate. I like them as a team. I think they have a really interesting chemistry between them as characters. A little bit of the IL they're badasses, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about later on in the video. But I think Loyal, in his own way, he's very determined. He's very steadfast, and I think he's just been such a great character to have in the periphery. I think pairing him up with Perrin and his story is really well done. Now, obviously, this all comes from the books, but I'm glad that out of all the side characters that they could have used, that they chose to bring in Loyal. So we're about 25 minutes into the episode, so I love the pacing. Like the battle is about to get real good, and we're gonna have it for a long time. This is almost an hour long episode, so we have plenty of time to unfold this battle. We do learn that only Perrin could really lead the people to battle. They were not looking for a leader; they were looking for one of their own to rise up into these ranks. They present him with a really cool wolf banner. The as the people of the Two Rivers are holding the Trolloc army back, the Aes Sedai, so Alana and the girls, and they found one more person too in the Two Rivers, because the blood is strong in the Two Rivers. We have learned that they link their powers, and Alana makes it rain daggers upon their enemies, which is really cool. The Trollocs retreat, but this was all a trap. Alana is impaled by an arrow, and the girls can't really heal her right away. The other channeler is killed later on, but this is when things we thought they couldn't get any worse. The White Cloaks show up, and I think I had been misled to believe that the White Cloaks maybe because of I feel like Luke is somebody that maybe has a little bit more honor than some of the other White Cloaks, and he seems to be kind of the leader. But Padan Fane is there with them, and he's the betrayer. And I should have known that once he showed up in the last episode, that he was going to come into. I knew he was going to come into play, but I didn't realize that. I completely forgot about his backstory because he's so different from when we first met him a few seasons ago. But he's of course a Dark Friend, and he was there only to betray everyone. Really, his mission from the Dark Lord was to destroy the Two Rivers. That's all he wants as a message to the Dragon Reborn. So Perrin finally picks up his hammer. He put that hammer down, right? Obviously, after everything that happened in the first attack that we saw in the series. Um, we do see once again that the White Cloak with the half black hair, half white hair. He's the one that's been looking for the girls and the Aes Sedai to burn them at the stakes, I guess. But in a very ironic and very well deserved twist of fate, the girls channel their energy. Matt's sisters channel their energy, and they take revenge for their mother. So they burn him to a crisp. He gets a little fatality. Scorpio would be proud of that. Uh, Lyle goes to destroy the gate, and as he's failing to destroy the actual gate, so what he does instead, he hammers down on the ground and destroys the ground that is holding the gate. Floating in whatever in the gateway that they're in. So he falls down. Um, he dies unfortunately in this episode, unless there's some kind of weird, Gandalf like twist that he'll later show up. But I don't think this is that kind of story. Um, Fane calls off the Trollocs after Perrin goes and threatens to kill him. Also, the Aiel that were with Loyal, they come back. They're alive. They are truly badasses because they were ambushed at the gate by what I thought was enough Trollocs to kill them, but I guess that was not the case. So yeah, they have proven time and time again that they are badasses. I really like them a lot. They're great characters. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Perrin lives up to his promise to surrender to Luke and the White Cloaks once the battle is done because they came to help. Even though they brought I really thought that was going to be kind of a loophole to get him out of this bond, this promise, because it was their fault that the Trollocs came in because they came in with them. With it was the White Cloak that brought the bad guys in because they were dumb and they were betrayed by Pat and Fane. Either way, Perrin surrenders. He goes with them. And that is the end of the story for Perrin for now, because in next week's, I think it's going to be all about Rand in a big, big confrontation with one of the strongest characters I feel in the series. That's all I'll say because I watched the preview. I also watched the after, the inside the episode where the actor who portrays Perrin was there with the showrunner, and they had a great conversation about how much of a badass Perrin's, is as a character and how much he's grown, his arc, how much he's changed from all the people that have touched his life, across the series. So I really love this episode. I've been, I was not Perrin wasn't my favorite, but as soon as he got those wolf powers, I was like, oh, this dude can do some and go off. Now, I do hope that he can finally later on embrace his wolf abilities. I don't know how much they'll extend, right? Obviously, he has a connection with wolves in the area, but I hope that later on he embraces more of that and maybe develops some more abilities. He really fought like very valiantly, along with Fail. I think she's a great character, very much a foil to Perrin, but also a great romantic entanglement there. So, hello everyone, Dane here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be talking about the Wheel of Time Season 3 finale, Episode 8, He Who Comes at Dawn. And who is he? Well, it's got to be none other than the Dragon Reborn, the Kara Khan. I am very excited to talk about this episode. I will say before I get fully into spoilers, this one felt a little convoluted. Like there was a lot happening, especially in the first. I feel like they were trying to close out a few other storylines in the beginning so that we could fully focus on Rand and his story in the latter half of the episode. Man, oh man, a lot happened. Like I was trying to keep up with the notes and I was like, geez, Lou. But very cool stuff. There were some there's some CG effects that did not look as great as some of the stuff we've seen in prior episodes of the season. But then there's some really cool practical stuff like these. There's a character that is introduced that I'm like, what is that? And how are we going to see this thing again? Yeah, it's very, very cool. I'll talk about all that. There's a lot of betrayals, a lot of violence in this one. Oh my God. Moghedien just really goes for it. I think probably the most sinister character they've introduced this season. Like, yeah, she just doesn't care. A lot of really cool stuff. Breakups, finales, deaths. Oh my, everything happened in this episode. It was a jam-packed hour of the show. And like I said, even though it's a little messy to begin with, once we get to I feel like once we get to the Dragon Reborn stuff, like it gets very, very good. So let's get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode, make sure to go check it out before you watch the rest of this. We begin with a flashback to Suyan beating Elida for the Emerald seat. Uh, it's hard to tell because they're not supposed to age, right? So it's hard to tell like when things start happening. Elida has always been someone that dresses up like very fancy, so like I wasn't sure. Yeah, it was hard to tell for me that it was a flashback until we get to the voting part, and they announced like the Amlin seat, and of course there's a different person doing the whole staff, which we know Suyan has her own. I forget the name of the protector. We also see one, so that's the cold open. We get to see that Suyan actually gets the vote, even though Elida was very confident she was going to win. So this kind of set back her plans, like, I don't know, hundreds of years, probably. That's why she had to go and be the advisor to the royal family. Then we see, in the present now, we see Leandra is on the move, and Nynaeve and Matt are following. She's finally got the braces and she's got the collar and she's just trying to finish the set. I thought this was going to play out a little bit more in the season, but I guess it's something that they'll maybe explore further. Maybe they just needed to give her something to do. Um, yeah, I don't know. The Leandrin stuff felt so disconnected to everything because obviously we don't get a resolution for it yet. We also see Ren and Lanfear. They break up in the dream world. And it's always hard to tell when they're in the dream world or not. I mean, I guess they don't really see each other in real life. Um, and then we see that after that, Lanfear has to switch gears, and she goes to Melimdra, who owes her a debt. It's never really specified what the debt is. At least I didn't find that in the episode. But now we know that, and Melindra is the person that Lan recognized in the bathhouse. Then we see Moghedien who visits Samael, who's locked up. Moraine's got this like shield on him, and after Rand took him out last episode, they're holding him. I think Moraine wants to use him to train Rand in some form of fashion. I mean, maybe because he's a male channeler. I don't know why she would use one of the Forsaken in that purpose, but Moghedien visits him and she just tears him apart. Like when you see him later, when you see what she actually did to him, it is super gnarly. Like she just took out all the power, the magic, like everything from him, and just left like a carcass behind. Then we saw earlier that Lanfear marked one of the Aiel that hates Rand with the dragon sleeves as well. So like there's a fake pretender. So the battle for the Carcon heats up as they both arrive in front of everyone, right? To declare themselves the Carcon. Now obviously we know as the viewers the truth, but the people, they don't trust an outsider like Rand. So Elaine, Elaine ends up taking out another one of the Dark Aja, who's got this lightsaber, for lack of a better terminology. We also see that Matt. So this is kind of where the group is taking out pretty much all the Dark Aja in different ways. Matt goes through this portal and sees some kind of cat person thing. I believe it's called the Elfin, who grants you wishes like in a monkey's paw type of way. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. The show didn't spend a lot of time on it. I was very confused. I don't know if they brought this up before. I don't think we've seen this character before. This is where I need y'all to tell me what's going on with that cat person on the portal. Why do they have such power? Yeah, I feel like the show. I wish there was a little bit more time to explore that, if it hasn't been explored. But then, as Matt finally wishes to get out of there, obviously he doesn't. Like I said, there's this monkey's paw aspect of it, to where, like, well, Matt didn't specify how or when or what the prize was going to be, so Elfin just leaves Matt outside, but he hangs him in, like, with a rope, which was one of Min's visions. But Min's able to come back, helps him out, takes out one of the Dark Aja, and then performs CPR, which I was like, hold on a second. CPR was a thing back, or I guess not back then, but like in this fantasy world, there's CPR. That's very good to know. Um, Leandrin also finds Nynaeve, because she stuck around to wait for her friends instead of leaving like their plan was. And she sinks her to the bottom of the lake or the ocean that's right outside. But Nynaeve finally unleashes her powers. Like, she finally embraces her powers. It was a really cool moment actually for this character. She's probably one of the characters that had a full arc, very subtle arc in this season. And yeah, she just, she splits the water, and she's a badass. So then we cut back to the tower where the mutiny is happening. Uh, the red Aja tricked. I mean the red. Yeah, the Reds tricked some of the tricked everyone really to lower the defenses in the tower. Suyan is brought to court to a vote. She's removed as the Emerald seat, and a new Emerald seat is voted on, and it is now Elida. So that's probably, just a mirror from from the start of the show. But then they also, she's sentenced to be stilled, and if you remember, I think from the first or second season, being stilled is when they take away your ability to channel. It's a very rough scene, and then even later on when she comes back, she's all beat up too. Like, I don't know what they were doing to her. um Leandra and Mogadine have a quick moment, so I think that's where we're gonna follow that story. Leandrin's goal is to become one of the Forsaken, right? So which is interesting, because I guess I didn't realize the Forsaken maybe were just regular people that were chosen, the chosen by the Dark One. So Raven talks to Lanfear, which Raven's the identity is revealed to Elaine, but obviously she doesn't have a chance to talk to her mom yet. And then once again, we go back to the Aiel with the Battle of the Carcons, right? We have both of these guys claiming to be the Carcon with the tattoos, and declaring in front of everyone and in front of all the different tribes and the groups. In the meanwhile, we see Moraine preparing to face Lanfear. She finally is going to face all the visions that she had in her journey there. Um, I thought Moraine was dead for a minute, but then Lan joins the fight. Suyen has probably the best scene in the whole episode, maybe the season. Oh my god, uh, I forget the name of the performer, Cleopatra, maybe. I forgot. They were talking about it after the show. But yeah, she's fantastic. Like, her scene, if you're gonna go out on a show, because she does die right after this, like, this is how you should go out. Man, oh man. Yeah, so she drops some hard truths on everyone, but then she is killed, decapitated actually. It's, you don't see it, but you see the body afterwards. It's pretty rough. And then Moraine feels this. They have a bond, right? They're connected. They love each other. They've been working on this for such a long, long time. Um, This fuels Moraine to come back into the fight. She's able to use that orb to not get rid of Lanfear, but at least drive her away for now. She does injure her as well. And then we cut to the last scene where Rand finally has to prove that he is the Dragon Reborn. He is the true Karakhan, and he makes it rain. He channels all these powers and makes it rain. They make it seem like he makes it rain all across the world, because the cloud coverage, you can see it in multiple places as it's happening, right? Which I thought was really cool. I mean, what an amazing display of the true power. And then this is when the Aiel, I think, to me, it felt like everyone kind of changed their mind and recognized him as the true Karakhan. So uh, we do hear Egwene tell Rand to pull back. He does not, and then we cut to black, and that's the end of the season. And it left at an insane place. I'm gonna go crazy just thinking and waiting for the next season. But yeah, like I said, not a perfect way to end the episode, but man, oh man, they left on such a high. A lot of really cool things happen. A lot of status quo has changed, right? The tower is now an enemy of our characters that we're following in the story. Moraine is now lost her biggest ally and the love of her life. The Forsaken have also taken some losses, but also maybe gained a new individual with Leandrin, if that's to be followed. And they have the weapon to cage the Dragon Reborn, which is also what the Tower wants to do. So I feel like next season is going to be a lot of hunting for Rand. But Rand's also more powerful, but also the more he channels, the more he can lose his mind. So obviously, double-edged sword. What a freaking cool story! Like, just really, really cool stuff. So there you have it. That's the end of season 3 for the Wheel of Time. Very excited to see where we go from here. If you have watched this episode, or if you watched the whole season, let me know. What did you think about it down in the comments? As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And stay tuned, because we have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.